Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim, and our guest today is Ashley Cameron. So, Ashley, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dan, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So I'm Ashley Cameron. I'm owner and founder of Love and Cookies. We are a gourmet cookie company that is located in Austin, Texas.
Awesome. So, yeah, I'm curious more about your business. How did you guys get started? How did you get the idea for this?
Yeah, that's a super fun question. So I think I can start by telling we sell a pre-portioned gourmet frozen cookie dough into groceries. I do not have a background in food or the food industry whatsoever. So my background actually started as a registered nurse. I was a labor and delivery nurse, specifically delivering babies at Texas Children's Hospital in Houston. Took a break when I became a mom. And then when my oldest son was 5, he got diagnosed with an acquired heart condition called Kawasaki's disease. So it's a rare disease in children that affects the coronary arteries. And after his diagnosis, he'd been through a lot. Poor baby, he's such a trooper. I asked him what was the one thing he wanted to do, and I would have taken him to Disneyland same day had he asked. But instead, his answer was simple. He just wanted to bake cookies with mommy. And so that's what we did. And after his diagnosis, we really focused on the quality of the products that he was eating. And we, after doing some research and loving the product that we were making at home, there really wasn't something on the market that a cookie that was just like you were going to make at home, with like high quality ingredients. And we wanted him to still be able to have those things, but we knew that there was something that could be better. So I started baking out of my house. And then about 4 months later, COVID hit, which I thought surely would shut down our business, but instead it actually made it flourish to the point where my husband was like, you have got to get out of this house. There is flour everywhere. And so we decided to open a very small 900 square foot bakery. And so that's kind of the story of how Love and Cookies was born. One of the things that we launched was this gourmet pre-portioned frozen cookie dough at the store. And so the wonderful thing about it is it's pre-portioned, so it can function as single serve or it can function as multifamily. And it's also made with high quality ingredients, right? So like your unbleached flour, your European butter, high quality chocolate, pasture raised eggs. Again, just like you would make it at home. So by putting it in the freezer, we didn't have to add any preservatives or any of the things that you would find in other cookie doughs currently on the shelf. So we got the wild idea. You're from Texas, so you probably know what ATB is, right?
Yes.
Yes, so they host a competition every year called the Quest for Texas Best. And we applied in 2022. And out of over 500 applicants and 500 products that were applied to the program, we have the honor of being named part of the top 10. So once you get named part of that top 10, it is Texas's version of Shark Tank. You get the honor to pitch in front of a panel of judges and an audience. And based on your pitch, you get to either win or don't. But the ultimate goal is to be placed on retail shelves. So we won first place that year with our pre-portioned gourmet cookie dough. And I found myself going, holy sugar and butter. How am I going to supply 300 grocery stores? Because I had a 900 square foot bakery that is obviously not fit enough to supply all of these wonderful grocery stores. So we took the crazy idea and built our own manufacturing facility out here in Dripping Springs, just a little southwest of Austin's epicenter. And I got to work. I learned everything that there was to know about the food industry, from food safety to operations to manufacturing equipment, what a palletized freezer was, packaging, and did everything I could to figure out to do this on our own, to create that high quality product, but also a ultimate customer experience.
That's amazing. So I think that many people don't know in terms of preservatives, right? Because it is a problem in many mainstream cookies. So how do you, what difference does it make for someone who's consuming cookies that don't have preservatives? What are some of those, health benefits per se?
Well, you're not filling your body with things that you don't need, right? And let's be honest, people would argue that, well, you don't really need cookies. Yes, that's true, but if you're gonna eat one, it might as well be a darn good one, right? And one that isn't gonna add additional harm, right? So the freezer is able to act as our preservative, and so it's a wonderful thing that we can not have to add any of that to elongate our shelf life, right? Because in grocery, shelf life is key, especially in frozen. And so with no preservatives whatsoever, we have over a year shelf life in our product. And that's pretty amazing that we can do that.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Frozen, like I'm sure that you watch Shark Tank and I can always see that like, when they're talking about like, Frozen, there's only so much space in the grocery store. It's a very challenging category because when you're going in there, someone else has to leave. So how do you kind of stay competitive being in that frozen aisle?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're absolutely right because it is so dang hard to crack and then again to stay there. So, frozen dessert, to clarify, that's going to be where your ice cream is, right? Your frozen pies, your Cool Whip, frozen macarons, like that is who we're competing against. I always look at this as a lens is that ice cream is king. So there is no competition there. So when you shrink that category down, you're like, okay, I've shrunk my category from 20 doors to 3, right? And so the competition gets super, super tight. And one of the challenges is that we've had is our price point because we use such high quality ingredients and it's reflected in our price because we don't cut corners. And so it comes down to a lot of social media, marketing, demo support when we first started, because once people taste our product, 9 times out of 10, they're buying. And then they're also going to be a repeat customer. It's not a one-time purchase. Some of our highest grossing stores at HEB will move 30 to 40 units a week, which if you know anything about velocity and frozen, that's unbelievable because anytime you can move 2 units a week, usually the buyers are happy. So it's kind of exciting when we have the capability of doing that. But I had some really good advice also given to me one time is that yes, we're in the frozen category, but it's naive for us to think that only the frozen category is our competition, right? To stay valid, we have to realize that we're not just competing against frozen because as far as the pre-portioned frozen cookie dough, we're kind of one of the first brands. Like there's a couple other smaller brands that are kind of starting up in the same shoes, but as far as like on a national level of having presence on the frozen shelf, there really isn't another brand. And so we're kind of disrupting our category. And so how do we stay relevant? And that advice again is that our competition is in the frozen category. Our competition is the entire store. We have to pay attention to what the cracker cookie aisle is doing. We have to pay attention to what the refrigerated dough is doing. And it allows us we're going to be releasing seasonal flavors, creating new customer experiences, and it allows us to stay relevant to where we become a must-have in the category.
Makes sense. And I think like it's always interesting for me, right? Because you're talking about like marketing and social media. Obviously, like that's super important. But as you mentioned earlier, like there's nothing like, getting trials. So it's like how effective has actual social media marketing been compared to in-store trials?
Sometimes it's hard to quantify social media because you don't always quite see the lift right away. All of a sudden, it's 3, 4 months later that you're like, wow, remember when we ran that campaign and all of a sudden we're seeing this lift and we're getting feedback and comments. So I think you see a lot more immediate effect when you're doing in-person demo support and also in-store promotions like BOGOs or $2 off or whatever that promotion may be. You're going to see that a little bit more quickly than social media, but it's kind of that chain effect. And I think one of the things that being a Texas kind of hyper local brand and our local support, we have these natural band. You've heard the term like micro influencers, right? And that's the best like word of mouth is that this person made these cookies for her kids and she may only have 1,000 or 2,000 followers, but the next thing you know, she's reposting it and 100 of her followers are now doing it. So it's created this ripple effect in a very positive way because I think parents especially want better products for their kids and they're not going to say, no, you can't have anything because as a parent, I'm like, yeah, it's not the reality, but they can certainly have a better for them product for their family.
100%. And so we were talking earlier, and like you had mentioned that you had a retail store actually not far from where I live here on South Lamar, and you've kind of pivoted to closing down that store, right, and focusing only on retail. Is that correct?
Yes. So we actually had 3 brick and mortars in the Austin area. So we had one in Lakeway, Westlake area, and then South Lamar, which was our biggest store. Yeah. So 2024 was a hard year made with lots of hard decisions that have proven to be very fruitful and amazing. So we had a couple of things going against us that year. Now that we've taken a step back and can really reflect it, our COGS in the later first quarter, kind of mid part of 2024, went up almost 68%. So when you're talking about using pasture raised eggs, European butter, all of those things are commodities, right? And they're higher end commodities. Chocolate, a big one that you might have seen in the news, huge. So when you're looking at your COGS are up over 68%, I have to pass that cost on, right? Labor shortages and also labor to find people that would work at reasonable wages was really difficult. And so, and then, in election years, people kind of do weird spending habits. And so we kind of saw, your COGS are going up, your sales are going down. Our brick and mortars had done great in 2023, but we were starting to lose money. And we realized the traction though that we were having in our CPG company. So after a lot of thoughtful analysis and time and consideration, we kind of essentially ripped off a Band-Aid. But it took us from losing money and we were in a deficit to instantly profitable by like scaling back, tightening the belt, and focusing on what really is going to allow us to scale.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think when you have retail stores, it can be a bit limiting because there's only certain people in certain areas that can buy. But when you have mass distribution at scale nationwide, you're giving people all across the US an opportunity to purchase your product. So are you guys currently only in Texas, or are you also nationwide? Or I guess like what are some of those goals for being activated in more stores in 2025?
Yeah, so super fun question. We are gearing up for national expansion this year. So I'm not liberty to quite say who, but I will say that in Q1, we're currently launching on some new e-com platforms, but we're also launching into other groceries across the state or across the country, excuse me. And you will be able to find Love and Cookies from coast to coast at the end of Q1, which we're very excited about. We have been blessed with the opportunity with UNFI and KeHE, which are the two national food distributors in the US, the two main ones anyways. And we were able to join the UNFI Up Next program as well as the What's New at KeHE, which helps emerging brands really kind of get our foot in the door at a lot of chains that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to. So we're excited about that opportunity. And again, we knew this was coming. And so it was part of that big, hard pivot to make the decision and the realization really that this is not working. And for the betterment of the company, we're going to shift and focus here.
Right. So as of right now that you're only in Texas as we're recording this, but within like the next couple of months, you're expected to be nationwide.
Yes, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? This journey only started 2.5 years ago. It was literally a dream of what this could be. And now here we are talking on the precipice of over thousands of grocery store doors. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, and that's super cool. And then in terms of platforms, right? 'Cause you're talking about direct to consumer. Are you more so looking at these like sort of, partnership platforms like the, third party, or do you also sell from your website? I guess, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so our sole focus is grocery and then direct to consumer from our own website. We work with a wonderful third part, like a 3PL or third party fulfillment center that fulfills all of our frozen shipments. And so they're able to offer great shipping rates to our consumers and that show up still frozen, right? And so you can order on our website or you can find at grocery stores coming soon near you.
So in terms of from your website, like how are you shipping it? Is it more like on dry ice, or how do you like ensure that when somebody receives a package that it's still going to be frozen and high quality?
Yeah, so our fulfillment center is the one that manages that process, but they do make their own dry ice and also it makes it more effective. And so it shows up on dry ice and sometimes additional ice packs depending on how far it's going and what time of year. Obviously, if we're shipping in August, there's going to be a little extra measures taken versus if we're shipping in December, January.
For sure. And then in terms of even like more expansion, I mean, obviously, I guess if now that you're focused on this retail launch, but in terms of like in the future, I mean, like, are you looking at potentially launching more SKUs, or what are some of the things like on the horizon for you?
So we are really excited that we're going to utilize our D2C platform to launch new flavors. And one of the things that I think would be really beneficial to us at grocery shelves is seasonal rotational SKUs. Seasonal, naturally, when you're talking about especially frozen desserts, specifically, there's a lot of seasonality to that door. You're going to see huge bumps in purchasing starting like September, like, Q4. You get little bumps around holidays such as Valentine's, Easter, May with like graduation, Mother's Day, all of that. But the seasonal flavors, what they'll do for us, at least the hope, is that they become a must-have via our socials and D2Cs that it makes it easy for groceries to say, oh, that pumpkin cookie looks unreal. Like I need that, even though it's only going to be there for 2 months, right? I need those holiday flavors, that springtime flavor. And so that's one of our goals in a major way that we hope will keep us relevant at the shelf.
That's awesome. And then in terms of D2C, right? Like, are you seeing people mostly here in Austin buying, or have you seen people nationwide? Like, how have you kind of gotten like in front of people from across the country?
Well, I think that comes down to just again like those social marketing campaigns that you're running. We've seen tremendous growth on that on our platforms over the last 6 months specifically. But it's actually we do have a ton of Texas kind of home-based consumers, but surprisingly, I would say it's kind of all over the place, but we really ship a lot to the Florida region and then California. It kind of seems to be our main regions that we're shipping to, but it actually makes sense because if you also look at the grocery landscape in America, that's kind of where you're going to find a lot of, your independent grocers, consumers that want these kind of higher end gourmet products. And so it's been kind of fun to watch it go all over the country.
So I always ask this question here at the end, right before we wrap. So if you could go back in time to before you got started, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
I wish I knew exactly how much capital it takes to operate a manufacturing facility. I joke now, I'm like, when people are wanting to start up something and if they want to do their own manufacturing, I'm like, whatever you think you need, add a zero because it's that expensive, but it's also really fun. And so I wish I would have had a little bit more of a pulse on that. But also, it's just been so much fun. The learning curve has just been inside out and upside down. So I still sometimes have to pinch myself that we've done what we've done, but have a great team and I certainly couldn't do it by myself. So yeah.
Amazing. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you or check out your website or socials, what are some of the best ways for them to get in contact and find you?
So we make it super easy because our website and social handles are the same across the board. So you can find us, on Instagram, TikTok, hopefully for another little while anyways. And then our website is getloveandcookies.com and our handles are at getloveandcookies. And we actually have a promotion that we'd love to share with your followers so that anybody listening, if they go to our website, they can order for 10% off their order and use the promo code ZING and we can share our story and love and cookies with them.
Awesome. Well, you hear that, guys? Sync 10, getloveandcookies.com, correct? And yeah, Ashley, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course.